Hey there, welcome back. On today's episode of Filming Your Model Making, we're going to dive into the equipment that you can use to shoot awesome model making content. Stick around through the video to see what we recommend.
Ep1, get paid to make.
So right off the bat, we're going to dive into cameras and we're going to go through the different types and what they're useful for, because each one could be more useful in different situations. The best thing to remember is you already probably have the best camera you're going to need, and that's your smartphone. The best camera is really the camera you have with you. And so if you are lugging around a lot of camera equipment, it's very likely that you won't start shooting because it's a big annoying process. So if you rely on your smartphone, that'll probably be one of the best things you could start out with, simply because it's easy, it's portable, and you almost always have it with you. And smartphones are usually going to be very capable because they've been made to shoot at least 1080p HD video for half a dozen years now. And what I'm shooting on right now is a Samsung Galaxy 7, but you don't need to use anything fancy, just basically anything that can shoot HD video or above. Usually when we upload videos to YouTube, we'll set that as our max resolution. So anything above that, 2K, 4K, it's just extra, but none of that's really necessary. So any camera, smartphone, tablet, DSLR, any of those things that can shoot 1080p or above will be perfect for what we need. So for an example, we have an iPad here, and that'll be perfect because it can shoot up to HD, and if you have one, it's really easy to use, it's big, which will allow you to get nice smooth shots. That's something that's really important. But if you don't have an iPad, you probably have an iPhone or an Android smartphone, but really anything will work. It doesn't really need to be anything specific. It just has to be something with a camera that you have with you that you can shoot. Everything that I'm going to do for this YouTube channel and for the APMM for the time being is all going to be shot on a smartphone, so that you can see the quality that you can get when you're shooting on the camera you have in your pocket. But if we wanted to dive in and go a little bit deeper, then you could always move up and go to more specialized cameras. The most basic that you're going to get is going to be a little point and shoot. And these point and shoots are great. Anything within the last half a dozen years, again, is going to be able to shoot in HD video. And it's tiny, compact, easily portable, and you can usually do physical zooms, which is something you can't do on a smartphone or a tablet because it's a fixed lens. So anything that is a point and shoot will have a little bit of zoom capability, which means you can zoom in on your project or whatever you're trying to demonstrate, and you can get a little bit closer, which is always a useful thing. In about that same price range, we have things such as action cameras, a GoPro, any HD sport cam. Even here, this is a Kodak Play Sport. I don't even know if Kodak's still in business, but this thing shoots 1080p, which means it would be perfect for use. You just need something that is easily usable for whatever you want to do. These action cameras often are very rugged and durable too, because they're built to be used in extreme environments. So you have to be less delicate with them, which also allows you to feel like you can get shots that you might be concerned about with a big expensive camera. You can tape this to your lathe or your mill, or you can get up close to get some detail shot and not have to worry about it getting kind of wrecked or beat up. So if you really want to step up your game and you've wrung out all the possibility from your smartphone or your action camera, then we can go to the big dogs, which are the DSLRs and the mirrorless cameras. The biggest thing to remember is that, like this Sony A7, this is a mirrorless camera, and it has a lot of variety of lenses. And the big thing is you can swap out lenses, so you can get a telephoto for zooming really close in. You can get a macro. You can get a wide angle. A variety of lenses are able to be clipped on and installed onto either a mirrorless or a DSLR like this D600, possibly giving you a whole range of customization for shooting different types of scenes. And also, these types of cameras will usually allow you a lot more control over your settings, and you can fine-tune the image quality. That's way more than we need to get into, but you know that you can go to that route if you really want to. Otherwise, in most cases, you're going to be using a smartphone because a smartphone is always with you, and that is probably its biggest benefit. Because if you don't have a camera with you, or if you don't want to set up a bunch of complex camera equipment, having a cell phone really is the most basic thing that will get you shooting and filming whatever it is, whether it's a shop tour, a presentation, if you just want to share a tool tip. So that's a good overview on cameras. There's a lot of equipment out there. You can really go in depth as much as you want to, but in reality, all you need to do is have something that can shoot quality HD video, and that will be very useful for shooting whatever you want to do. Now that we've covered cameras, lighting is one of the best ways to make your videos better regardless of what you're filming on. Depending on where you're filming, you may already have great lighting. If you have good access to natural light from windows or skylights, this might be pretty much all you need, but you will be limited to time of day and weather. Also, sometimes if you're filming in a shop environment, you just need more light. Many shops will have a lot of fluorescent lights, and that'll provide good quality coverage, and many times that'll work in most scenarios. But I find that there are often times where I'll need more light due to strange shadows, or simply because whatever I'm showing is too dark or doesn't have enough light on it. You have a lot of options when it comes to lighting, so let's run through a few of the most common things that you can use when you need more light. For most of us, the easiest source will be shop lights, either with halogen or LED bulbs. Both are commonly found in nearly every shop and can be quickly set up for filling in a dark scene. They come in a variety of forms, as cheap as $8 for something like this work light, which is a nice handy clip-on for whatever need that you would have, or something larger like a big floodlight, either LED or halogen bulb. You have a lot of varieties and options there. They're often found with halogen or incandescent bulbs, but more and more manufacturers are putting LED bulbs in there, which will provide a much more white color compared to the yellow that you'll get with a halogen or incandescent. Some will even use CFL bulbs, and these tend to be more on the blue spectrum, and you can use whichever light works for you depending on whatever your overhead lights are, but even that isn't necessary. While matching color isn't always important, it is something that you could dive into later if you really wanted to fine-tune your lighting scenarios. I'll discuss more of that in a future episode where I'll dig into all the tips and tricks surrounding lighting for various scenarios. After shop lights and work lights, the next most readily available lighting solution will likely be floor lamps and desk lamps. While they're not ideal, they often provide an easily positionable light that can be adjusted by swapping out the bulb or adding a smart LED bulb that is dimmable or has adjustable colors. Desk lamps, like this small LED version from IKEA, is really good for small shots where you want your light really close, just off frame. Floor lamps can sort of be used in place of a shop light, and where you'll remove the shade and possibly just put up something to diffuse the light, but it allows it to get the light up higher, and you can still move it around wherever you want. Moving on, we come to the more professional studio lights that are made to output a more consistent and controllable light. Something like these right here are great examples. They're often built to accept accessories that allow you to diffuse light more evenly, like with this umbrella or a diffusion hood. They also can help with light direction control, such as the barn doors on this light and the other accessories depending on how you want to control the output. They may also be able to be set up to add color via gels or have dimmable light output, and with the new LED studio lights, they often are able to cycle through RGB colors, which is super useful when you're trying to match a color or if you're just trying to add a little bit of a pop to the back of the scene. These can be had for reasonable amounts of money, but unless you are planning on doing a lot of filming, they're often unnecessary, and similar results can be achieved with lights most of us model makers already have. This brings me to the DIY solutions, which I suppose you could call anything that isn't the professional studio lights, but really it's the ability to build whatever you need for whatever scenario you need to light. You can source your own LED light strips, like these right here, and make your own light bar or floodlight, something that mimics the expensive lights, but instead can be made for the price of a roll of LEDs. Another solution is that you could purchase light bulb sockets and build whatever type of contraption you want with as many light bulbs on it to throw light in all sorts of directions. You'll be able to swap out bulbs, you'll be able to add custom dimmable bulbs, LED bulbs where you can adjust the color temperature. Really, the sky is the limit. And since we're all model makers, we already do create what we need when we need it. So the DIY solution is probably going to be what most of us will rely on, unless you're really getting into filming. Because the studio lights are great, but in most scenarios, you don't need anything that fancy or that expensive, because we all probably already have shop lights or some form of light source if we don't just use the lights on our ceiling, which in a lot of cases would be great. The biggest thing to remember is that lighting can help make whatever you're filming easier to see. And since we're trying to share with an audience, really the end goal is just making it easy as possible for everyone to see the thing that you're trying to demonstrate. Making sure it isn't in harsh shadows or a bright spotlight can really go a long way. This is why using natural light from a window or an open roll-up dock door could really be a great solution for a lot of scenarios. And filming in a room with a diffused and evenly lit space can help to avoid even needing many, if any, lights down the road. I'll dive into lighting techniques and specifics in our upcoming episode on how to set up and film your model making, but hopefully this gave you a good overview of the variety of lights you can use to make your filming better. And now that we've got cameras and lighting sorted, we come to an often overlooked aspect of filming videos, your audio. As they say, 50% of your video is audio, and statistics show that if a video has really great video quality, but terrible audio, people are much more likely to not watch that video compared to a video that has poor video resolution, but quality, clear audio. So the importance of audio cannot be understated. And while I'll go into tips and tricks in a later episode, right now I want to focus on a few of the options that'll allow you to record great audio with your video. The most obvious place to start is with your on-camera microphone. This is the microphone that's built into your smartphone, GoPro, point-and-shoot camera, or your high-end DSLR camera. These are notorious for being tinny and capturing very flat audio. Also, since it's on your camera, it won't be close to the person talking unless you are very close to the camera while filming, and stay that close the whole time, which is very unlikely. It is also more likely to pick up sounds from when you're actually handling the camera, which will basically destroy your audio with loud rumbly noises. If you take this DSLR, for example, you have two tiny pinholes here, which clearly are right where you're going to be holding the camera, so you're more than likely going to be disturbing the audio as you record. On your point-and-shoot camera, it's not any better. There's one tiny little hole on the front, and that's where you're capturing your audio. So even if you don't bump it, you're definitely going to be moving your camera while you're filming, and it's likely to pick up that sound. What's more, that's your entire orifice for capturing audio, which means any sound is going to have to squeeze through that tiny hole, and you're not going to get a great audio signal. Most will suggest avoiding this microphone altogether, but if spending extra money on getting quality audio isn't an option right now, there are ways to improve the quality or work around limitations. Again, I'll dig into that in a future episode, but for now, know that it isn't absolutely necessary to get an external microphone, but for the low cost of all the various options out there, it really is recommended. So what are those options exactly? Let's cover some of the most common ones that you'll probably use to film a workshop, a tour, or any presentation without needing to break the bank. First up for external microphones will be this very popular shotgun style microphone, which does a good job at capturing directional audio and blocking out sounds from behind the camera. It still picks up sounds from most of your space, so the closer you are to the microphone, the better. This leads to people mounting them on boom poles so they can be mounted just out of frame or mounted on the camera for a close-in shot where you'll be actually near the microphone. They come in two main varieties, either powered directly through the cord or battery powered. The camera-powered versions are usually just a simple mic and will not need to be turned on, making them very easy to use. Battery-powered versions will, as the name suggests, require batteries to function, but often come with on-microphone controls like a sensitivity boost and a low-pass filter, like on this Comica V30 Pro. This does make for a slightly better output, as the signal is powered directly from the microphone, but it does require you to remember to turn on your microphone every time you're going to record. This sounds like no big deal until the first time you shoot an entire segment with the microphone turned off and you have to go and reshoot it because you got no audio the entire time. For that reason, some people prefer the ease of the camera-powered mics simply so that they can just plug it in and it's good to go. Both types can be obtained for reasonable prices. This Comica V30 Pro is available for $55 on Amazon, and still some are even cheaper, though there are much more expensive versions that will give even better audio, though definitely aren't necessary unless you are really looking into fine-tuning your video making. A great accessory that you'll often get with a shotgun mic is this furry windbreaker called a dead cat, and it basically allows you to record outside or in windy conditions, and it'll really block down that wind noise that your microphone will pick up. The next most common type of microphone is a lavalier microphone, which you'll see in interviews or broadcast situations. It features a small omnidirectional microphone that only picks up sounds that are relatively close, making it a good solution for isolating your voice from a possibly echoey environment. They may also sound a bit more full than a shotgun mic simply due to its proximity to your mouth. They're easy to use, often requiring just being clipped on your lapel or your shirt or a jacket or anything that you're wearing, and then just plugging straight into your camera. If you want to be wire-free, there are many quality wireless options, though this is a more expensive route. A basic lav mic can be had for as low as $20, and a wireless lav system usually starts between $70 and $100, with the decent quality systems going up from there. The third most common type of mic will be a condenser mic, something you would see on a broadcaster's desk where they're going to have the microphone sitting right in front of them and they'll speak directly into it, often through a filter to get crystal clean audio. These types of mics only pick up sound that is directly next to it and from one side of the microphone. These will have a much more full-bodied range thanks to the limited ability to pick up distant sounds, but it also means they are mostly used for voiceover recording, podcasts, or things where you are sitting at a desk and have a mic directly next to your mouth. These can be either USB powered or the more professional XLR connections, but again, unless you are really getting into audio, the USB condenser mics are more than capable. These are priced similarly to shotgun mics, starting at around $50, and they can just go up from there. As you can see, there are many great options that are easy to use and will provide quality audio for your video and are very affordable. Since they are so affordable, it makes sense to add an external mic and upgrade your audio for a very small investment. Again, it isn't absolutely necessary to buy an external microphone. I'll share ways to improve the audio for your in-camera microphone. But if you were to make one investment to improve your videos, I would highly recommend a microphone. Lighting can be worked around much more easily than a bad microphone, and there are plenty of hacks to solve issues while filming. From quick and easy camera holders to tripod replacement ideas to ways to get smooth motion out of your camera, all of these can be done in very low-tech ways, but capturing sound can't really be done in any other way. You can improve the environment for capturing sound, but if your microphone can't hear what you're saying or is blown out by some sound you didn't mean to record, the video quality suffers. So now that we've covered the three most important pieces of equipment for your videos, let's dive into the mounts and accessories that will help to streamline your video production and help you be more creative and possibly prevent problems along the way. If you want to take your filming up a level, getting some sort of camera mount can go a long way to making better videos. Regardless of what camera you're using, be it a smartphone or a DSLR, there are a whole host of options for securing your camera while filming. Camera mounts such as tripods or stabilizers can make sure that your video isn't jittery or shaky, something that's very common during handheld shots. Especially in the case of a smartphone, the camera is very light, which means there's not a lot of heft to keep it from bouncing or shaking around or making very small movements. So unless you're trying to get a live shot of something up close, or you're actually filming a movie where it makes sense to have shaky video, a tripod or a stabilizer really makes sense to help get you clean video. What's more, having some sort of tripod or camera mount can help you film yourself without someone else's help. Something that a lot of us won't necessarily have is someone there to film us. Everything that you've seen from the videos that I've filmed are almost entirely self-shot with a tripod or some sort of stabilizer, just holding the phone to get a shot of me. So let's dig into the type of mounts that would be used by someone who's looking to film a presentation, a workshop, or maybe even a shop tour. The first type of camera mount is the ubiquitous tripod. As you can see, I have 5 examples here, and you can get them in a whole bunch of different varieties. For smartphones, there are these mini tripods, often not bigger than the smartphone themselves, and they'll hold the phone vertically or horizontally, depending on the mount. This allows you to set your phone up on any flat surface, whether it be a shelf, table, desk, counter, you name it. You can set it up anywhere that you have a flat surface, and you can immediately start filming yourself or something else. Next up are these medium-sized tripods, and they're good for smartphones and small point-and-shoot cameras, maybe a very lightweight DSLR. These often aren't very heavy, typically very lightweight, so they may not be great for heavy DSLRs, but they're quick and easy to set up. Because they're so light, they're very portable. Also, these tend to be taller, so you can get a better position than with the mini tripods, because these will have extensions and you'll be able to raise your camera up maybe to waist level, and so if you set it on a table, you can actually get eye level video. Next we come to the full-size tripods, like this Manfrotto over here. It's a really big, heavy, stable tripod that allows cameras of all sizes up to heavyweight DSLRs or even cinema cameras, and they usually come with a lot of ability to adjust, extend, raise up to even higher than eye level, and they usually have multifunction heads, which allows for smooth panning, tilting, stuff like that. Those multi-position heads often come in 2 main styles. One being the pan, tilt, and rotation, and another one being a ball joint, which will allow omnidirectional positioning for your camera. The ball pivot is great for changing position quickly, but it doesn't necessarily have accurate positional rotation, so it's probably not best to create movement while filming, but it is really quick and easy to set up to get an interesting shot angle. A pan and tilt style head is much better to use for panning and tilting while filming, and many styles are what is called a fluid head, which has a hydraulic dampening system for smoother and resistant motion. There are also types that simply have friction pivots and do a similar job, though the fluid heads are a bit smoother and will avoid jerky motion a little bit better. There's another type of tripod that's become very popular, especially for smartphones and lightweight DSLRs, and that's a flexible tripod, often nicknamed the GorillaPod. The first popular flexible tripod was the brand name GorillaPod, and it featured legs made of dozens of friction ball joints, allowing the user to wrap the legs around a table leg, tree branch, pole, really any object it could wrap around physically. Other manufacturers use similar legs, some with rubber outer sleeves and internal articulated legs, each one allowing a camera to be mounted in places a regular tripod can't go. These types of tripods really expand your options for mounting a camera, especially in a shop environment where you may be low on flat spaces, but you'll definitely have a lot of locations where you could wrap something around or clamp something to it. Moving on from tripods, but staying in the same vein of unique types of mounts, there are a large variety of camera mount clamp systems that use different types of clamping mechanisms combined with a camera mount to greatly expand the options for camera mounting. With these, you can clamp onto tiny poles, shelf ledges, handles, pieces of equipment, heck, even random chunks of wood screwed onto some surface for a very unique camera position. With these, the opportunities are nearly endless for where and how you can mount a camera to film yourself doing something or something you're demonstrating. Next, I want to talk about a couple types of camera mounts for when you specifically do want a moving shot, whether you're following somebody for a tour or you're trying to get in really close to demonstrate an action or a process. First is a stabilizer, which is basically anything that your camera can be mounted on that adds size and weight and possibly some sort of handles that allows you to easily manipulate your camera. I purchased this $18 Z-Grip stabilizer to use with my smartphone as my handheld system. Its frame is plastic and pretty light, but it has a nice grippy handle, and then I added on a 2-pound block of tooling board to give it some heft. Then I attached a neck strap for 3 points of contact so that I could have nice smooth motion while I'm filming a moving shot. There are a variety of stabilizer systems out there that do basically the same thing, and most have additional mounting positions for accessories like a small LED light, a microphone, and other more professional accessories. Some people even use their heavy tripod as a form of stabilizer, since it adds heft and you can grab 2 legs and hold it like so. The biggest thing a stabilizer does is right there in its name. It stabilizes your hands and your camera so that you reduce shake and jitter while filming. It might seem small, but can actually make a big difference when you have to hold your camera to shoot something. The extra weight and large, sometimes wide handles makes it much more difficult to make small movements quickly. The other camera mount for shooting by hand is what's called a gimbal. I don't have one, but these can be either manual or electronic. The manual gimbals include things like the glide cam system, which are basically a camera mount that is counterbalanced on a set of pivots with some weights to keep the camera balanced and upright no matter how you move. The most advanced versions of these can attach to a body-mounted rig that uses spring-loaded arms to isolate any body movement from the camera. These are definitely overkill for most situations outside of filming action scenes for a movie, but definitely are a viable solution to camera stabilization. The other type, electronic gimbals, are becoming more popular recently as battery capacity is increasing, so a smaller device can have very useful functions. The basic function of an electronic gimbal is to use 3 motors on 3 axes of rotation to automatically adjust and hold your camera level and allow motorized control over panning and tilting. The smallest of these actually use an integrated camera like the DJI Osmo Pocket, but versions exist that can hold smartphones, DSLRs, and even professional cinema cameras, depending on what you need it for. There are a wide variety of manufacturers out there at different price levels, and if you really wanted to get into creating perfectly smooth video, these are a really great tool. Obviously, they're generally way past what any of us would need to use, but they're an interesting option for those who enjoy the tech side of things. Finally, I want to focus on what most of us will probably use, a smartphone, and talk about smartphone-specific mounting options. There are thousands of options out there, most being of a very similar design, which is a basic expanding clamp that allows you to clamp onto your cell phone on the sides and then mount it to any of the tripods or devices I've already talked about. I actually purchased this Joby Grip Tight Mount Pro, which not only holds the phone, but has the added ability to rotate it for vertical or horizontal orientation, and a secondary pivot so that I can tilt the mount depending on my needs. This is a basic example, something cheap you can get on Amazon, but the important thing to note is the inclusion of a 1/4-20 threaded hole on the bottom. Nearly all camera mounts worldwide use a 1/4-20 thread as the basic mounting feature. Even if they have a quick release attachment, the camera is still usually mounted via that 1/4-20 threaded hole. All tripods and stabilizers will often come with a 1/4-20 threaded post that screws into a camera body, so smartphone mounts use that same connection method. For model makers, that makes a smartphone mount perfect for the DIY route, because even if you have no budget, you definitely have something in your shop that you can fabricate together to make a mount like this. Beyond this specific smartphone camera mount, any of the other solutions I've talked about here could be worked up in a DIY situation, especially because all it is a mount with a threaded post on some sort of stable base. So this covers the basics of what you need to get started, but really, I want to reiterate, all you need is some sort of camera, whether it be the smartphone in your pocket, a DSLR, an action camera, really anything that can allow you to shoot 1080p video. That's all you need to get started. All the other pieces of equipment will just enhance whatever you're doing and make the quality of the vinyl video that much higher. And like with any other skill, waiting to acquire equipment won't make practicing unnecessary. You can still shoot videos and improve with each one as you learn to better control lighting, sound, camera stability, and discover new and creative ways to share ultimately the information you want to teach someone. The biggest thing is to just start filming so that you can share that valuable knowledge that other model makers will want to know. And it's very possible that you have a fantastic nugget of information that you just can't keep to yourself. Let me know in the comments below what you learned today that'll help you when getting started on filming your model making, and other questions that you may still have. In the next episode of Filming Your Model Making, I'll start to cover the basics of actually filming and how to maximize your audio and lighting setups, and go over a few tips and tricks on how to improve your videos and get great shots. In a later episode, I'll dive deeper into different types of model making videos, such as technical workshops, presentations, and shop tours. I'll even discuss ways to make a great in-depth tutorial to walk people through a process to teach a skill. If you found value in this video, why don't you go ahead and smash that like button. And if you want to see future videos, click that subscribe button and hit the bell to get notifications. With that, I hope to see you in future videos. And remember, the APMM is committed to helping you get paid to make. See you next time.